Hey guys, Harry here from the Art Gear Guide. Thanks very much for joining me today. As you can see, I have a review of the Winsor and Newton. I'm actually doing the Brushmarkers and the Promarker review, okay? I know they're different markers, but they're the same company, and in my opinion, they go hand in hand with each other, so I'm just going to do them both today. Now, I've had the Winsor and Newton markers for quite a long time. I've just recently added a few more colours to my collection. And I was kind of torn between doing this review and not doing it because, I don't know, I think the Winsor and Newton markers have been around for quite a long time, and I just thought, you know, is there anything else I can add to what people already know about these markers? And I just didn't think I could, and then I thought to myself, you know what, I'll just do it. It'll be my style of review in any case, so there might be something new that people can pick up from it. I don't know. Like I said, I'm doing both the markers, okay? So first of all, we'll get into the different packs and things like that. Then we'll take a look at the markers. They're also doing like not a rebrand, but they're like a repackaging. And so we'll take a look at that, because the markers that I have here are what most of you will probably be familiar with. If you go into your local art stores and stuff like that, you'll probably see these sets quite a bit. They come in 12 sets, well 13 sets, 12 plus 1. There's normally a blender marker in there. And if you buy these sets on a regular basis, you will soon find that you collect a lot of blacks and a lot of blenders, like I have. I think I've got about 6 blenders and about 6 blacks, which actually isn't a bad thing, but nevertheless, it's just the way it is. And then you also get these 6 sets, so obviously a little bit less expensive. Now, I'm not going to go over all the sets that they do in this video. I will have all of the sets that they do over on the Art Gear Guide, because there is quite a lot of different ones. You can get some sets where there is like 24 Promarkers inside like a wallet, which also flips out to be a holder. So I'm not going to go into all of those, but I will have them over on the written review if you're interested. But like I said, this is the old packaging, but you'll still probably find these in your local store. This is the newer type packaging that Winsor and Newton have come out with. It's a little bit more simple, simplistic, clean, straight to the point, that type of thing. It's kind of the same format. On the back here, you've got the colours that are inside the package with the pigment name in various different languages, as it is on the back of this one as well. You can see here the pigment names and what have you displayed here on the back. But let's take a look at the different markers. Now, what I will do is I want to also show you as well the packaging of the markers. So this is the new style packaging that Winsor and Newton have gone with. The marker is, I don't know, it's cleaner looking, not as much clutter on it. Whereas in comparison to the older brand, I mean, like, I'm still really used to the older brand, so I'm torn between this new packaging and the old one because I'm used to it. But you can see here that the pens themselves are the same in terms of they have this pointy cap at one end, and then the other end has like a squared off cap. The squared off cap indicates where the chisel tip is, and the pointy cap indicates where either the bullet nib or the brush nib is, which I'll show you in just a second. Now, if we take a look at the old style marker here, now we're looking at the Promarker, okay? So the Promarker has a bullet nib and a chisel nib, and on the old style you have like an icon indicating which is which. But I think and the pigment name and number is also on the barrel here, and then on the end cap where it is like squared off, the pigment number is displayed there as well. So when you have your markers laid up in like a marker unit or something like that, the pigment numbers are visible to you. On the new style markers, they haven't got that little pigment or like the nib icon on either side, because I guess the way Winsor and Newton look at it is the pointy cap indicates where the brush marker or the bullet nib is going to be, and the tapered off cap indicates where the chisel is going to be. So they've left it at that. The brush markers, well, it's the same type of thing, only instead of the bullet nib, it's the brush marker. Now I'm going to I will look at these, we will take a look at these tips in a little bit more detail in just a second. The markers themselves feel a little bit, in comparison to a few other type markers, they feel a little bit cheap and light, but that's for good reason, because these markers come open stock, but these ones here are disposable, so once you run out of the ink, you just chuck it away and you get a new one open stock, and they're really quite cheap. Again, prices for open stock and other sets, what have you, will all be available over on the written review of the Art Gear Guide. I suppose if you really wanted to, you could force ink into there with a different type of ink, but it would be different and it would be pointless doing that. You'd probably it's probably more hassle than it's worth trying to put new ink into it. But I'm sure you could do it one way or another. But that's not how they're designed. So with regards to the actual markers themselves and the amount of colours that are available, in the Promarker collection, there is 160. Now the Promarker, I think the reason why the Promarker, the brush marker has got 72. The Promarker, which is the bullet nib, has got 160. And I think the reason why the Promarker has got many more colours than the brush marker is because the brush marker is relatively new in comparison to the Promarker. The Promarker stood along on its own for quite some time, and then Winsor and Newton started introducing the brush marker not that long ago in comparison to how long the bullet nib has been about. I have done some artwork with these pens. If you can take a look at the images popping up now. I've also got a speed drawing as well, which you can go across and take a little look at it. Hopefully that will show and help demonstrate the level of pigment, the vibrancy and stuff like that within these pigments. Now Winsor and Newton is a huge name. Everybody knows the Winsor and Newton name, whether it is through their paper, their watercolours, anything like that. And I think the vast majority of people that use Winsor and Newton products would agree that it's a safe name to go with in terms of you're going to get good products. With these brush markers and Promarkers, Winsor and Newton also have another type of marker. It's a pigment marker. Now the pigment marker that they do, I would love to get hold of them one day to do a review of. They're a little bit expensive, but with good reason, because they are light fast. They are the only type markers that are light fast. But I will try my best and get a set of them to do a review of for you. But these markers are alcohol based, so there's no light fast information on those or anything like that. Now just a little side note, with the Promarker, which is the one with the bullet nib, you can actually use those on plastic and glass and things like that, so it's not going to rub off on that type of thing. So that's something that you would need to be careful of as well, as I guess whenever you're using them, that you don't accidentally run them up against a piece of plastic. I'm sure it'll come off a little bit with some bleach or something like that, but it depends what you've accidentally hit it with. Now the thing about markers is, the very first time I got my a proper set of professional alcohol-based markers, I used them on cartridge paper and it was terrible. And I can remember thinking, my goodness, what is the big hype about these markers? Why have I paid so much money? It wasn't until I'd done a little bit of research and got the right paper for them that I could see the benefit in the markers, and the markers started working properly. So it goes back to the old thing that we always say as artists, that the surface that you are using is just as important as the tools that you're using as well. So I know this review is about Winsor and Newton and the two markers, but before I get into the actual detail of these, I just want to go through some of these different papers with you as well, because I know a lot of people try to find out. So the first time I used printer paper, and it was just terrible. Then I found out about this type of paper. Now this is a letter set paper, but there's many different. Winsor and Newton have their own. I think Copic have one as well. It is ordinary paper. It's very thin. It's just like cartridge paper in terms of the thinness and stuff like that, but it has a thin film on top of it. And so when you are using your markers and stuff like that, the ink actually sits on top of it for a longer period. Like with cartridge paper, it's much more absorbent. And so as soon as the ink hits it, it absorbs. That's why you get that feathering appearance sometime on that type of paper, because the paper is absorbing the ink into it immediately. With this type of paper, it doesn't. It sits on top, allowing you a little bit of time to do blending and stuff like that. The only thing about this paper is it's great if you're just doing practicing and what have you, but if you're going to do a piece of artwork that you want to give to somebody, giving it to them on this, I don't know, it just doesn't seem professional or anything like that. So this is before I found out about Bristol board and all these other different types of papers. I thought to myself, what am I going to do? How do I get around this? Then I found Bristol board. And so I started using Strathmore's 400 and 300 series. And if I'm going to do a piece with marker and colour pencil, I'll use their 500 series as well. The 500 is a little bit more absorbent, but not quite. It's still got a really smooth surface. Another paper that I found really works well is this Frisks. Now it's very cheap as well, which is excellent. It's only £5 for A4 size with 20 sheets. And I'm going to show you in a second how the markers work on this paper. But perhaps the best standard paper is, without doubt, the Expressive Blending Card. Now that is really good. It's a little bit more expensive. You get 25 sheets in this. They're a little bit smaller or different size than an A4, but doing artwork with markers on this paper is an absolute joy. I love it. It's if you can afford it, try it. If not, try to get hold of this Frisks. I'll have links for all of these materials over on the Art Gear Guide and also down in the description. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these markers, and we'll take a look at the difference between the bullet nib and the brush nib. So the first thing to notice about the brush nib is that of all the markers I've used, this one is very flexible. This one is the closest I think I've ever come to using like a real paintbrush. The tip, it's quite long. I think it's longer than most of the other brush markers out there, which gives it this real serious flexibility. I don't know if you can see that there, but you can see it's incredibly flexible. I'll just zoom in here. There you go, that's better. So as you can see there, it's very flexible. You can see how wet it is, the juicy ink that's coming off there. I know some people don't really like its flexibility, but I do. I think it's really nice. The chisel side of it is pretty standard, as you can see. And then now here's the Promarker has this, what they call a bullet nib. But this, when I've been using this, it really, I mean, it does have a little bit of flexibility to it, but not very much. But it releases ink really well, and there's very little to no streaks, which you don't normally get when you're using a marker that has a bullet tip on it. A lot of bullet tip markers do leave a little bit of streakiness, but for some reason, the nib that Winsor and Newton use, it doesn't appear to work that way, and the ink flow out of this nib is sensational. So I'll show you what I mean by the the cartridge paper. Okay, so this is like printer paper. And I'm just going to zoom in. Hopefully you can see this. So as you can see, I'm drawing along there. You can see it's feathering out. Okay, and then when you go on to now I'm on to the Frisk's Bristol board, and you can see here you've got much more control over that line variation because it's not feathering out. So if you look at that line compared to that line, that's the difference in the paper. Okay. Now, in terms of blending, so I've got some greys here, and they're numbered. This is warm grey 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm just going to do a little bit of blending here, and I think one of these is a Promarker. No, they're all Brushmarkers. Sorry, I lied to you. Okay, so a lot of people start off light. They will do like a full thing of light, and then come back over it. I mean, like, I think this way is a waste of ink, but a lot of people do it. So come back over with the dark. That's the 4. Now I'm coming in with the 3. Now I'm coming in with the 2. And then I'm finishing off again with the 1. But you can see that gives you a really nice gradient. But again, that's down to the paper, and it's also down to the marker as well. Now, the markers themselves, you can see here that the caps have got this really, really prominent divot on it, and that stops the markers from rolling over or anything like that. And on the end here, if you see, I know this really isn't that important because hopefully kids won't have these in their mouth, but they have these air vents on them. So if a child does swallow it by mistake, that there is air still going to get into the airways. I know that's not really important, but I just wanted to highlight that just in case. Okay, so I think that's really it about the Winsor and Newton markers. So you've got the Brushmarker, the Promarker. This is the new packaging for the markers, just in case you see those and you think to yourself, are they a different marker? They're not. They're exactly the same, just different packaging and different packaging on the actual marker themselves. I personally loved using these markers, and I think that the drawing that I did actually turned out quite well. It was a drawing of Power Rangers. My little brother loves Power Rangers. I say little brother, he's 30 now, but when he was a kid, he absolutely loved Power Rangers, and so I kind of done that drawing in tribute to him. But that drawing had a lot of bright, vivid colours on it, and I wanted to use the markers that I have. I personally have a collection of about 50, so I'm a long way off having the full collection. And within that 50, there is Brushmarkers and Promarkers. Incidentally, on the Brushmarker end, it does say brush. On the Promarker, it just has the number, but on the end of this, it does have the brush, because inevitably you will have the colours that are in the Brushmarker are the same. You know, they have duplicate colours in the Pro colour, but there's obviously more colours in the Promarker, if you understand what I mean. Finally, as well, whenever I'm doing this is the swatch I made. Now, I can't take credit for this swatch. This swatch, the idea for this was given to me by Lindsay from the Frugal Crafter. Basically, I have them all clipped together with a ring, and if I am doing a piece or anything like that, and I've got my subject that I want to draw from, I would get this. So say I'm looking for this color grey. Let me see out of the light. So I would get this, and the holes that I've punched through here will show me whether I'm close to the grey or not. Let me see, where's my dark greys? So I would just go along there and try and find the closest colour that I could to whatever's on there. So like I say, I can't take credit for this. This is an idea I picked up from Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter. But I just wanted to show you that little swatch idea there that I've used. But that's really about it. If there's any questions that you want to ask about these markers, guys, please leave them down in the comment section below, or you can send me an email or anything like that, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Thank you so much for watching these reviews. I'm trying to get them done and out to you as quick as I possibly can, guys. Whilst everybody is locked indoors with the coronavirus, I will be doing a few live streams, but I'll have more details up about them soon. Anyway, guys, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you all again next time. Thanks. Bye.